Yeah. So welcome, people. It is almost Thanksgiving, and I'm still waiting for uh, Indian summer. My mother's birthday was November 11th, and she Armistice Day when she was growing up, Veterans Day for us. But she told me the whole time I was growing up that there's always Indian summer after my birthday, and all my life I'd only seen it miss once. One time, might have been 6 years ago now. It was the first week of December. I remember Scott Bates and I were running around Grassroots Nursery in t-shirts, talking about how nice and warm it was outside. So I'm still waiting for it. And I'm kind of glad if anybody is upset that it didn't come this week, you can blame him.
Me?
Yeah. If I didn't have this Santa suit desperately needing to get done before the day after Thanksgiving, I had to sit inside. And I told him, I said, so help me, if it's nice out there and I'm sitting in here sewing on this suit, you're going to owe me big time.
I owe her a little bit. It was only nice one day.
Yeah, and I did go out and break a little bit there.
Good morning.
Hi, Sonia.
Good morning.
Wanted to give you a quick heads up. We've been wrestling really intensively with our internet, and we're on day 3 of waiting for a tech to arrive. On the off chance that the tech arrives while we're in seminar, I'm going to have to run down to the brewery to use Wi-Fi there. So there may be a 5-minute window in which I am furiously driving in the car. Just giving you a heads up.
Well, I'm glad if they find something that they can do to help you out. And I know what it's like waiting for people. We had the plumber in a couple of days this week, and it's like, okay, we can't do this because we're waiting for that, but it's nice to get it done. We do have Shane Pliska coming in. We're going to want to, what do we do? Spotlight him to make sure that he stays towards the top, right? Okay.
Yep, I can certainly do that.
Okay. So for those of you who are here early, if you have anything that you would like to talk about, now would be the time to raise your hand or chat it to the window. Karen says she's drinking Pepsi too, Steve.
Diet?
Yeah.
Not good.
We do have a hand up from Nancy.
We do have, oh yes, the handout. We were very late getting the handout up.
No, sorry, a hand up from Nancy. I've got the hand
okay.
up. No worries.
Go, Nancy.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sure can.
Okay. I was watching the video from last week because I couldn't stay for the actual video conference, but when cutting branches from trees with the colorful leaves, or when cutting branches with the berries on them, how do you keep both still stuck to the branches when you have them indoors? Because what I'm finding is the berries fall off. And I was concerned that in the wind, all the leaves would come off the branches that I have in the arrangements outside.
And you can't ensure that things are going to stay together, but you can, with some practice, pick the time to bring those things in. Because, for instance, I just brought in a leaf of our sweet gum tree, which is refusing to drop its leaves at all. And I had to pull and peel the leaf off. It was still firmly attached. A branch of that would keep its leaves. When they're starting to separate on their own already, you don't really have much of a chance. And the berries are the same way. They reach a certain point. So it may have been too late for some of the things that you were picking up, depending on what they were. Those that have the most persistent fruit are the ones that you aim for regardless. Crab apples, the viburnums, the hollies, they tend to stay better than other things do. But it's a little bit of trial and error on all of these things.
Yeah. Sometimes you bring them in and you think it's going to hold, and they're inside for a day, and a bunch of fruit might fall off.
And some of them you bring them into the warm, and they finish developing, like people who brought cattails into the house, not thinking, oh, these brown beautiful clubs are very nice to have. We'll bring them into the house. Well, in the warmth of the house, the pods open, and that cattail fluff was everywhere in the house. And the cattail fluff was used in before World War II. It was used in life jackets. Okay,
Well, is
Oh, sorry,
another way to like spray adhesive or some kind of sealant on it? Would that
some
work?
people do, they use either, they use hairspray or fixative, the artist fixative on it, and that can give a little more connection between a petiole that's holding the leaf on, or the peduncle that's holding the fruit on, and the stem, but it's hit or miss, and it's still one of those things that you'd rather not have to do, because when you spray one of those things on there, if there's any fluff or dust or lint or whatever that's around, it ends up sticking to that thing just in no time at all. So
we have another hand up from MSAP as a name. I'm going to turn your camera off though, if that's okay, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
good morning.
Actually, this is Gretchen.
Hi, Gretchen.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm using a different, but okay, it's just a quick question. It's about, I have a old dishpan, an old-fashioned dishpan with holes in the bottom that I've been growing hen chicks in this summer, and they're hardy. I'm just wondering where the best place is to set that dishpan. Just in the garden on the dirt?
Probably just in the garden in the dirt, and you've got a real shady garden, so it's protected back there. Out in the open. And now, is it a metal dishpan?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to conduct
Right.
heat, real, and so you want to nestle that in among leaves. It definitely has to be in contact with the ground, but the sides, within inches of the sides, it can freeze very hard and hurt things that are just inside that edge. So I would make sure that I nestled it into the ground where you've got a bunch of leaves or something that's up against the sides, so that the ground warmth is coming around the sides of the dishpan too.
So would it be better actually to just kind of dig a little bit of a hole and put it in?
Oh, sure, because then if you had it in a recess like that, then you for sure got the sides covered.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Our friend Karen, what's Karen's? Anyway, our friend Karen, who
Which Karen?
does bonsai. Anyway, our friend Karen who does bonsai, and of course, bonsai plants, most of them are grown in shallow, wide trays, like dishpans, smaller scale in many cases. Those bonsai need to have cold in order to do all that, to drop their leaves properly, to flower properly, etc. So they have to stay outside for at least part of the winter. And she would bring all of her things in and put them underneath the deck, because underneath the deck there was just that much more cover to keep the radiation in that might otherwise get away.
Karen Scandalaris.
Karen Scandalaris. Okay, so we're looking to keep the cameras and the microphones off so we don't get in each other's way today. And
just welcoming Shane, who's showed up.
Hello, Shane. And we have a special guest today. So the number changed, added one more participant, and Shane Pliska got here. Shane Pliska is going to help us with interior plants today. And you'll find if you open your participants menu that it has your, you have to keep me on the screen, Steve. There we go. It has a raise your hand control in it. And if the raise your hand control isn't in the participants menu, it's in reactions. And when we get to question and answer session, if you don't want to chat your question, type it into chat. If you don't want to do that, then raise your hand. You can turn your microphone on then, and we'll all just be able to talk. And the chat is important because the people tend to put some really good ideas in there. And I'll be asking people in a few minutes about what's still blooming in their yard. Because that's always interesting to see what still makes it. And some people do save that chat. Once you put it type in the to everyone, make sure it says to everyone. Don't toggle that everyone switch to Janet and Steve. Or
Okay.
we can't. We need to make sure that Sonia sees that, because Sonia moderates the chat for us and keeps those questions lined up so that when we get to a question and answer session, bing, there they are. And some people save the chat, which is in a more or a ... menu, so that they can save it, unless you're on an iPad, and some other devices don't let you save the chat.
Pads or
if you think there was something really good in the chat and you wanted to save it, then you could send us an email and we'll send you a copy of the chat, because it comes to us. There is a guide today, and there is an extra guide because we just too much stuff to put in when we're talking about basics. So we have a reference links. So if you're interested in any of the particular points or want to check further into them, it takes you to
detail, yeah.
articles already on our website about those particular points. So what questions do we have for those who want to warm up? Okay, go ahead there, Roberta, I see. At least I see that the name is there. I don't have a big enough chat window to see what the question was, but do you have it, Sonia? And Sonia may not be with us.
Sorry, what do I have? What was that?
There was a question for, yeah, Roberta.
There was a question from Roberta, yeah, about how to treat a magnolia with significant buck rub. So we have started our damn it dear questions early today.
Poor magnolias, and they have such thin bark. Protect the base of the tree as best you can. We're murder with rods or stakes and string, where we put a barrier around the plant wide enough out, but close enough together that the buck's going to have trouble getting its head through. But once the damage is already there, all we've ever been able to do is we take grafting wax, which is a soft wax that it doesn't require boiling heat to make it soft. And we put grafting wax over that area to keep it moist. And then we've put a self-adhesive bandage. It looks like an ace bandage, but it sticks to itself. You can buy them at the drugstore. We've wrapped that around it to make sure that some squirrel probably doesn't come and chew the wax off of there, because we're trying to keep the cambium moist so that it can continue to grow and seal itself over. But there's not much else that you can do. Prune off the dead branches on a dry day.
If they broke branches,
Poor baby. Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Michelle says sometimes she takes a picture of the chat, which is a great way to capture things.
Yeah. And I think that if you're on one of these silly iPads that doesn't save things well, I think the screenshot is pretty easy on an iPad. I think it's just top button, side button kind of thing. But if you're on a computer, at least if you're on a Mac, I can tell you that hitting Command, Shift, and 3 all together screenshots your whole screen, and then saves it to either your desktop or your downloads, so you can have it for reference later as well. So that is a good tip.
All these things that we know. There was one more before it. The neat thing about listening to Sonia talk about this stuff, she says all you have to do is press 2 buttons at once. Press 2 buttons at once.
No, that was 3.
I know, but it started with it was easy on the iPad to do 2 buttons at once, but then 3 buttons at once. So we're going to go ahead and get started officially, I believe, here. We're into the birds this week.